There we go. Good evening, everybody. My name is Luis Maia, and this is the Behavioral Economics of Global Affairs. Economia comportamental de questões globais. Nós estamos entrando aqui na nossa terceira semana, né? Terceira semana de atividades. It's very good to be here with Gilberto, Pedro, Bruno, Ilídio, Eric, Guilherme, Rayane, Felipe Lins, Rodolfo Martins, Aimee, João Romeu, João Cavalcante, José Cauã, Matheus, David, Érica e Susan. Very nice to have you all here, guys. So we are still talking about what exactly is behavior economics. And before I started recording this session, I have just replayed to you this video with Dan Ariely, or Dan Ariely, if you prefer. And we were talking about how we humans are not so good at decision making. And I wanted to ask you this question. What is the main message in that video? Qual que é a mensagem principal daquele vídeo? Is it a positive message? Is it a negative message? What did you guys take from it? O que vocês acreditam que seja a mensagem principal do vídeo que a gente acabou de assistir, pessoal? Pode colocar no chat, pode abrir o microfone. Quem que vai começar? All right, all right. Who's up first? Come on, guys. I want to hear from you. Qual que é a mensagem principal do vídeo que a gente acabou de ver? Bom, vou mudar a pergunta, né? Me diz alguma coisa que vocês entenderam do vídeo. Qualquer coisa que vocês considerem importante do vídeo que acabaram de assistir. All right, we have two answers here. João Romeu falou assim, os formatos são importantes em decisões. This is a good point, João. The way we say it is in English is say the way a question or an issue is framed affects our impression. Então, a maneira como uma questão é enquadrada afeta a nossa decisão. Yeah, this is a good point. Rodolfo also tried answer here. O ambiente e os pequenos detalhes têm um grande peso na hora de fazermos escolhas. Yes, that's also true. Message from João here. A gente é influenciado por coisas que nem percebemos. É verdade, também tudo isso são mensagens que estão nesse vídeo. But those are not the main messages. The main message in this video is like, we have to be as careful as we are to design something like this. Look at these glasses, okay? They are designed in a way very carefully so that they will fit exactly my face and they will be at the exact distance from my eyes to the lenses. When we look at a cup like this, the format of the cup has been carefully thought. You see, the way people choose every piece of it has a meaning, has a reason. The way the cups grow larger as we go up, all of those are not accidental. Someone has given a lot of thought about this and decided which one is the best way to design the cup. Now, I have a dog here. Can you hear the dog barking in my neighbor's house here? Now, if he continues, I'm gonna change rooms, okay? Let's see. Let's see if the guy take it easy in a minute or two. If the dog keeps barking, I'm going to change rooms, okay? But what I was trying to say is that when we look at things, let me see something else here. I got here this 70% alcohol bottle. Uh, Even things simple like this, like the cap of the bottle, those have been very carefully designed so that they will easy to open up or close down. So the message in this video is like this. We should design decisions so that we help people make the decisions. So it's like you should give more thought on how you present someone options for retirement. Então, na hora de você oferecer a alguém uma opção de aplicação financeira para guardar dinheiro para aposentadoria, se deveria também, em vez de colocar 30 folhas escritas em letras muito miudinhas, para o cara decifrar aquilo tudo, você deveria ter também maneiras de explicar melhor, de permitir que a pessoa visualize os detalhes de um determinado contrato. So, we're talking about design thinking applied to the opportunities for decision making. Então, da mesma forma que a gente aplica toda a técnica de design para desenvolver produtos como um abajur, uma cadeira ou uma xícara, a gente também deveria desenhar as oportunidades em que as pessoas têm que fazer decisões. This is the main message. I mean, it looks like the message is always showing us how poor our decision-making are, our decision-making in general abilities are, and that's not the point. That is true, but the point is, since we know that people are so bad at decision-making, we should design decision opportunities better, all right? This is the main message we got here. Does anyone agree or disagree with that? What are your opinions on this? Deixa eu ouvir a opinião de vocês sobre essa ideia. Faz sentido essa ideia de preparar melhor a tomada de decisão? De desenhar oportunidades para uma melhor tomada de decisão? Yeah, it does, right? It does make sense. So this is one of the interesting videos we're going to watch. As we move on with our course, we're going to see many of these important guys, okay? Dana Riley is one of the most famous behavioral economists in the world. And there's another video we're going to see with him, maybe next week, in which he tells you the story about how he got those marks. I don't know if you have noticed, he has had severe burning of his skin in one half of his face. So in a later video, he's going to tell you the story of how that thing happened, okay? Como que aquele acidente afetou a vida dele. Ele teve metade do corpo muito queimado e tal. E isso acabou um pouco direcionando o interesse dele de pesquisa e a carreira que ele escolheu. All right, so we're going to be back with Dana Riley in a few more months. But at this point, I want to go back to our class notes and try to finish the discussion we were making. Now, let me see how many of you have good memory. What we were talking about when we finished our last class. Qual que era o tema que a gente estava discutindo quando a gente terminou o nosso último encontro? Anyone would try? What was the topic? What point did we stop? I'll give you a hint, okay? We were talking about choices on how to buy a refrigerator. And then there were like two different pictures showing different offers to buy a refrigerator. Do you remember that? Let me refresh your memory here. So I'm gonna. João was trying here gatilhos mentais. Well, not exactly this. It was related to gatilhos mentais, but not exactly this. We were talking about how we can help people using kind of the best mode of his reasoning, right? Remember this picture? I was telling you, look in the first case here on the left hand side, what's going on? Well, people were emphasizing that each installment will be only 129 reais. As pessoas estão tentando dar um destaque e te empurrar uma certa facilidade para fazer essa compra. Now, they're trying to appeal to a kind of reasoning which makes decision fast, which makes decision in an intuitive way. Okay? Now, on the right hand side here, you also have some decision support, right? Now we are trying to help people on how to make best decisions. And we are saying, look, I'm not I'm not going to tell you about how much kilowatts per hour, how much it spends compared to different refrigerators. I'm just going to tell you a color and a letter and say, now you know if this product is efficient or not. And in this case, yes, it is very much efficient. It is the most efficient possible, which means it spends less. It spends much less, right? All right, so what we are talking about when we saw this was basically Kahneman's fast and slow, or Kahneman's dual system. Now, I told you that this is not true, okay? This is not a very clear and precise description of your brain. What we're saying that this is a model, is a simplification. It's like an easy way to think about choices. All right, so we behave as if we had two different systems. System one, well, we make decisions quickly, we make them intuitively, sometimes even automatically. And we need those kinds of decisions, right? If you are walking on the streets and then you see some dogs poop, then you have to, move away quickly, not step on it. You have to make a quick decision for that, right? Same thing if someone throws the keys to you, say, hey, here's my car, and they throw you the keys, and you have to pick them up in the air. Well, you don't have time to calculate how fast the keys are coming or anything like that. Você tem que mais ou menos reagir e pegar as chaves que estão sendo jogadas no ar. Então, existe esse sistema 1, que é de decisão rápida, que você, antes de pensar, você já toma a decisão. So we have this ability to make very quick and intuitive decisions. But sometimes that's not the best way to go. Algumas vezes aquela não é a melhor maneira de fazer decisões. So we have system 2. It's when you take a piece of paper, you write down your initial ideas, then you stop, you think about them. Sometimes you even go to sleep. There's a very good expression in American English that if someone has to make a choice or make a decision, and it's a very important decision, sometimes people say, oh, I will sleep on it and we'll talk tomorrow. Às vezes as pessoas falam assim, não, eu vou dormir com essa ideia e amanhã a gente conversa. Think about this. I mean, you're not going to dream about your decisions, right? You're not going to spend the whole night dreaming on which way to go. Oh, should I visit France or should I go to Argentina? my money is going to be much more much more valuable in Argentina than it's going to be in Paris or something like this. I don't know. You, it's not like you're going to spend the night thinking about it, but somehow you trust that leaving an idea lay down, rest for some time in your brain, it is a good way to reflect about it, to make a more controlled decision, right? Okay, so again, this is not a precise description of your brain, but this is a simplification. This is a model, and it works fine. We can explain lots and lots of phenomena just by looking at things and understanding that sometimes we make decisions like that. Right. If we want to be very precise on how we describe these things, you have here system one. Let me write this down here. Let me take the pen. Let me see if I can do that. This is system one, and this is system two. Now I'll ask someone to open up your mic and start reading these words here, okay? Quem é que gostaria de treinar o seu inglês um pouquinho aqui, a sua pronúncia de inglês? Tem que ler para mim cada uma dessas 6 palavras aqui, ó. Let's see, who wanna try? Don't worry, nobody's gonna laugh at you. We're just practicing our pronunciation. Go ahead, please.
The first one, uncontrolled.
Yes, the second? Go ahead. Keep going, Bruno. You can say all of them.
Oh, okay. Effortless.
Effortless. Good.
The third one, emotional,
All right.
fast, and unconscious.
All right. Very good. So let me just show you a little difference in some of them. Okay. Okay. The first one you said just right, uncontrolled. The second one, too, you said very well, effortless. And then the third one, we say emotional, not emotional, okay? This letter E in the beginning sounds like E. And then fast, and then unconscious. Very good, okay? Now, let me ask someone else to read the first column now. This one. Who would like to try? It's not a big deal, guys. It's just to hear a little bit of your English. Any volunteer? Or should I ask someone in person? Who want to try the first column now? Come on, everybody. Let me see. Let me hear someone. Okay, if you prefer, I'm going to ask for a volunteer. What about you, Rodolfo? You want to try?
Eu posso tentar, professor. Não sei se vai ser uma grande coisa.
It's all right. Don't worry. Let me see. Let me hear. Go ahead.
Controller.
Okay.
Effortful.
All right.
Deductive.
Uh-huh.
Slow, self-aware.
All right. Very good. I'm going to say them now so you can check the difference. The first one, we don't say the letter E as E, okay? We say controlled, okay? It's like we forget there is an E there, okay? You forget. It's just controlled and the letter D at the end. Effortful, it was good. Deductive, all right? So the U letter, it gets the sound of an A. Deductive, okay? And then we have slow and self-aware, okay? All right, pretty good. Thank you, guys. So what I'm trying to show you is like this. In system one, yeah, it is easy. We don't have to do anything. It comes to us like naturally. So that's what we mean when we say uncontrolled, okay? You don't need to think about it. It is effortless. You just do it. You just don't stop and think, okay? Sometimes it's very profoundly affected by emotions, but it's also fast, and at some point it is unconscious. Em alguma medida, aquilo é inconsciente, você faz sem nem saber. Exemplos de atividades que você faz usando o sistema 1. When you speak in Portuguese. If you speak in your mother tongue, you just say it. Você não precisa organizar a frase, pensar se você está falando certo. Em português, você simplesmente solta a frase. Ah, para mim tá bom. Não, eu quero meu cachorro quente. Não, eu quero. Você sempre fala, você não para pensar. Eu desejaria mais um refrigerante. Não. So it's like automatic, all right? It's a different thing when you are learning a foreign language. So when you have to speak in English, you have to actually remember the way verbs are connected, the way we change verbs depending on we are talking about he, she, or we, or you. So it's like a whole different ball game, okay? Quando a gente está falando uma língua estrangeira, pelo menos no momento que a gente está aprendendo, a gente tem que pensar muito. When I first moved to a different country, and I told you guys that I lived for 7 years in the United States, when my first 2 or 3 months there, they were exhausting. Nos primeiros 2 meses, eu voltava para casa da universidade, eu voltava exausto, eu estava com a minha cabeça cansada. Eu ligava a televisão, a pessoa começava a falar inglês. Eu falava assim, oh, no, I can't handle any more English right now. So it took me a while before that sounded natural for me, you see? So, system 1 and system 2. So this guy here, it is more controlled. It takes more effort. You have to deduce. You have to use your reasoning, apply logic to make decisions. And then it is slower, much slower. And you kind of look at yourself at the same time that you are doing it. So it's like you have to pay attention to what's going on. The same thing when you're planning a journey or a trip. If you are visiting Caruaru next week and you have never been to Caruaru, well, you have to think about it. You have to think how much gas you have to have on the tank in your car. You have to think about how much money you're going to take. You have to think about which routes will lead you to Caruaru. Então, para fazer uma viagem para uma cidade onde você nunca foi, você tem que parar e pensar, planejar, fazer conta, às vezes até colocar no papel as despesas todas de uma viagem. That does not happen when you just wake up and go to school, or you wake up and go to work. You do the same thing every day. You could do it with your eyes closed. In fact, I know some people that take so long to wake up that I think they end up waking up when they are already in the bus. Tem gente que faz as coisas tão automaticamente, troca de roupa, toma café, a pessoa vai realmente acordar quando ela já está lá dentro do ônibus no caminho da escola. All right, so you guys realize that this is a metaphor, okay? Essa descrição é uma metáfora do que realmente acontece no nosso cérebro, mas ela é muito boa. So, we have talked about decision making, and we have seen some ways in which our decision making goes wrong, right? So, I'm going to show you a few contexts and a few circumstances in which we tend to make bad decisions, all right? So the first case is when someone draws our attention to something that is not as important as the main point in a decision. So sometimes some information stands out, either because it's novel, it's completely new, or just because it seems more interesting or more likely to affect our actions. So when you make decisions about food many times, you have been exposed before to a picture of that food. Think about when you are in a food court in a shopping mall. Imagine que você está lá na praça de alimentação no shopping. Antes mesmo de escolher o que você vai comer, você já viu foto de vários tipos de comida. So those things are trying to draw your attention to specific aspects of the product, right? So sometimes we don't see what's really going on because our attention is driven to a specific point. All right. So this is one of the things that we make mistakes. There are also mistakes we make because we don't know exactly how to manage time. Time, yes, I'm talking about tempo. Muitas vezes a gente não tem uma habilidade muito boa, como a gente gostaria de ter, quando a gente toma decisões no tempo. So one very common mistake we make is this guy here. It's the present bias. O viés do tempo presente. So what exactly is this? Now, present events are weighted more heavily or preferred than future ones. So this is the traditional case in which you are watching TV, it's late in the night, and you should go to bed. But you say, oh, come on, I'm just gonna watch one more episode. And then you end up going to bed much later. É muito difícil da gente sacrificar o presente em benefício em favor de um benefício que só vai acontecer no futuro. Na hora que a gente compara um benefício agora a um benefício no futuro, é como se pesasse mais o valor presente, o que está acontecendo na nossa frente. A gente consegue palpar, sentir melhor. E aí a gente acaba tendo um viés em favor de decisões que são agradáveis no presente, mesmo que elas sejam muito desagradáveis no futuro. Now, think about this. This is not because you are Brazilian, or because you are from Recife, or because you are young. This thing happens to older people, it happens to people from all over the world, and it happens to people from different parts of Brazil. It's human. It's not a cultural thing. Ok? Aquela sua vontade de assistir mais um episódio no Netflix quando já é 10 da noite, não é só você que passa por isso. 5 horas atrás, tinha alguém lá na Alemanha passando pelaquela mesma situação que você. All right. The second thing we want to show you about time and decision making is what we call planning fallacy. A falácia do planejamento. O erro do planejamento. So how it goes? We tend to underestimate how long it will take us to complete a task and we just ignore past experience. So how does this thing happen? Remember when you have a homework or you have a group work or you have some sort of task and you're going to have to deliver results in a week. Então, imagine aquela situação, se lembre daquelas situações que você tem um dever de casa, ou você tem que estudar para uma prova, ou você tem que preparar um estudo, um relatório para o seu chefe, mas você sabe que vai ter que entregar só daqui a uma semana. So, it's only human that we tend to procrastinate. We tend to leave it for later. But that's not all. We also tend to think very positively, very optimistically when we plan how long something will take in the future. A gente sempre acha que uma tarefa, quando for feita lá no futuro, ela vai poder ser feita em 2 horas, em 3 horas. So think about this. If you have to deliver a report to your boss, suponha que você tem que entregar um relatório para o seu chefe. And then, you know that you're going to have to deliver it on Thursday. Você vai ter que entregar para ele na quinta-feira. And it's already, I don't know, Monday. And you think about it, oh, it's okay. I only have to deliver it to my boss on Thursday, so I'm going to start working on Wednesday. And then it comes Wednesday, and you say, I'm going to start working on this in the afternoon. Então, você vai falando assim, não, isso dá tempo, eu começo na quarta-feira eu começo. Aí chega mais um pouquinho, não, chegou a quarta, não, eu começo de tarde, no início da tarde eu começo. And when it turns out, by the end of the Wednesday, you look at the task, you start to do what you have to do, and then you realize, well, this thing will take me like 12 hours. Então, aí que você se dá conta que aquela tarefa que eu achava que dava para fazer em poucas horas, vai te gastar 12 horas. So, we cannot measure or to schedule ahead time enough to perform some tasks. We are always optimistic, and we tend to think that just a couple of hours will do. Many times we fail. So that's why we call the planning fallacy. Now, these two are examples of biases. Esses dois são exemplos de vieses. Essa e a próxima semana a gente vai falar muito sobre vieses cognitivos. Então, vieses cognitivos, a definição que eu vou já dar agora aqui para vocês não ficarem no suspense, são tendências do nosso raciocínio tomar certo caminho e cometer certos erros. We can't help about them. And I wanted to use the example that you saw in Dan Ariely's talk. Remember those two tables? One looked longer than the other one. Lembra daquelas duas mesas em que uma parecia ser muito mais longa que a outra? Well, once the guy took out the strips, the line, you still felt like the first one was longer, even though you knew now that the two are the same size. So the same thing happens with cognitive biases. Even though we understand that we are prone to make those mistakes, we still make them. Mesmo que a gente saiba que a gente tem essa tendência a fazer aqueles erros, a gente continua fazendo. Now, let me take a look at you guys here, and let me give you this example, okay? Look at me here at my picture. You see what I got in my hands? It's my glasses, okay? Now, when I use my glasses, I can read better, right? If I take off my glasses, I cannot read that well. So that seems obvious. What I'm trying to say is this. Knowing that I need glasses doesn't correct my vision. O fato de eu saber que eu sou míope não faz com que minha visão fique corrigida. Eu tenho que usar óculos. Então, o fato da gente saber que a gente comete, que a gente tem essa tendência a cometer erros cognitivos, saber que a gente tem essa tendência não corrige essa tendência. A gente ainda tem. A gente precisa, de alguma forma, usar óculos para as nossas tomadas de decisão. So, in this sense, let's say that I have a task. My boss asked me to deliver this report on Thursday. So I end up creating this personal rule, and I say, I'm going to be ready at least 24 hours before. So now I'm wearing glasses. Então, a maneira de a gente, entre aspas, usar óculos para uma decisão é falar assim, se eu tenho que entregar um relatório para o meu chefe na quinta-feira, meu compromisso pessoal é sempre de estar pronto o relatório 24 horas antes de eu ter que entregar. Now, it's like, a safe. It's like a precaution, right? Eu estou tomando uma precaução, eu estou jogando na segurança. Se eu chegar na quarta-feira, que era para eu ter terminado, e eu ver que eu não terminei, eu falo, ainda bem que eu tenho 24 horas. So this is how we use glasses for our brains. Does that make sense, guys? Please raise your hand if this example made sense to you. All right, good. So this is important stuff, what we are doing here, guys. I know it looks just like a curiosity, but our whole course will be based on this. We can't operate your brain and people's brain and change them. We can't do that. We cannot format people's mind. We can't do that. So what we have to do is to help them making better choices by themselves. That's what we have to. That's what behavior economics is about. We are not gonna improve people's brains. We don't have that ability. We just can't do it. And honestly saying, this is not a nice thought, okay? We shouldn't try and deform or reform a person's mind, you know? People are free to think the way they want. Even though sometimes they will harm themselves. The point is, we have to help them making better decisions by themselves and for themselves. Okay? All right. So this is the main message we are talking about here. So those were our class notes for the first week. Now let me show you something else now. Let me go ahead here, cancel this screen sharing, and now let's go to another one. I want to show you this. Okay, now please check out that I only have here 29 students. But as far as I can tell, our class is made of 35 students. So there's a good chance that many of you have not yet come to this Google Classroom. And I'm gonna need everyone here, okay, guys? I need you all here because here's where I'm gonna post your grades. Here's where we are gonna consolidate all the class notes. So just to make sure here, check this out. Those are the class notes that we are gonna start using right now. And they are available for you here for a long time now, okay? You guys could have downloaded if you wanted. But please pay attention that you have to participate in this Google Classroom. If you haven't done so, let me go ahead here and all right, so I'm gonna post here at our chat the link from which you can connect to that. Okay, I see a question here from Mateo saying, what means self-aware? Self-aware, and João was trying to translate, say, atento, se não me falha a memória. And then Guilherme came, autoconsciente. Yeah, that's a better translation, Guilherme. Yes, self-aware is when you are very concerned about how you look or how you do and how you speak. So many times people don't want to say words in English out loud in this class because they are too self-aware. Muitas vezes as pessoas não querem praticar o seu inglês quando eu convido para abrirem um microfone e falar, elas ficam muito autovigilantes, autoconscientes, assim, e sentem que poderiam cometer erros e enfim. All right, so self-aware is when you are paying a lot of attention to yourself, okay? All right, so if you haven't done so, please do join us at Google Classroom, all right? Now I'm going to interrupt this sharing here, and I'm going to grab my class notes so that we can start the class notes for the third week. All right, here we go. I think those are the ones. Let me just check again. Yeah, so let me share them here with you. All right. All right, please confirm to me that you can see a new set of class notes now. And it's written Cognitive Biases in Experimental Economics. Can you guys see that? Yes, you can, right? Okay. So now we're going to talk specifically about cognitive biases. Remember, behavior economics, so far, we have talked about persuasion. That's not the point in behavior economics. We are not trying to manipulate people. We are not trying to get advantage of them. All right? That's not the point in behavior economics. Behavior economics realizes, assumes that we all have limited cognitive abilities. So we have bounded rationality. We have talked about the dual system, which means fast and slow. Sometimes we make decisions very intuitively. Sometimes we just stop and think about them carefully. And we have seen some examples of cognitive biases. Now we're going to see many, many more of them, okay? So let's first give you a description of cognitive biases. Cognitive biases are tendencies or patterns of systematic mistakes, deviations from rationality, okay? So it is about judgment, juízo, it is about behavior, the way, a maneira como a gente se comporta, it is about decision making, a tomada de decisões, and sometimes it is about memories. Unfortunately, our memories are not as trustworthy as we think they should be. Às vezes a gente se confia demais nas nossas memórias e nem sempre elas são tão confiáveis assim, tá? Então, todos esses aspectos aqui podem ser afetados e podem afetar a maneira como a gente comete esses mistakes, tá? Esses erros. Let me take a look at some signs that people are making these mistakes, okay? First, sometimes people only turn into news and stories that confirm their own opinions. As pessoas só querem assistir um canal. Ah, não, aquele canal tal eu não gosto não, porque as opiniões lá não tem nada a ver comigo. Eu penso igual o canal tal. Ah, eu não gosto da Globo, eu gosto da Band. Ah, eu não gosto da Band, eu gosto da CNN. Ah, eu não gosto da CNN, eu gosto da Jovem Pan. All right. If people are only willing to receive information from a source which will confirm his opinions, well, that's a sign of cognitive biases. And you're going to say, oh, come on, so everybody makes that mistake. Yeah, most of the people do. Yeah. So sometimes we assume that we are always correct when we think that we cannot make mistakes, that we have a better reasoning, a better judgment than anyone else. Well, that's a clear sign that we have made a mistake. We are suffering with cognitive biases, okay? Now, when you look at some other people and we cannot give them credit for what they've done, we just feel jealous, you feel like someone else's success is just the consequence of luck and not because the person is talented or it's like a very working hard person. Well, that's cognitive biases too. We tend to assume that everyone have the same opinion or the same views that we do, and we tend to blame others for things that didn't go our ways. So, you see, cognitive biases are present in every aspect of our lives, and we have to deal with them. There's no escape from them. We are all inclined to make those mistakes. Even though we know about them, we tend to make them, right? So it's like we have to learn better ways to deal with it. And then you may say, come on, Luis, I think this is all very interesting, but please tell me how these psychologists have come up with those studies. Como é que alguém estudou para provar mesmo que existe essa tal da falácia do planejamento? Como é que alguém comprovou cientificamente que a gente tende a escolher informação, a fonte de informação que confirma as nossas opiniões? Que tipo de experimento que foi usado para chegar a esses vieses cognitivos? All right, so we have to talk a little bit about experiments in behavior economics. Now, we basically have three different types of experiments. First one we call lab experiments. Experimentos de laboratório. So it's like a simulated version of the real life. So we can ask people and say, what would you do if you were walking down the street and you saw a sign saying such and such thing? Would you stop and buy, or you just go ahead and move on with your life? So we can ask people to pretend they are making choices and present. Sometimes you can present them some choices in kind of in a limited environment. I have this extraordinary example to tell you guys. I'm even gonna stop this presentation here to tell you about this lab experiment. Think about this for a while, guys. All right, so this was an actual experiment, okay? It happened. Esse é um experimento verdadeiro que eu vou contar para vocês, tá? Aconteceu mesmo. Think about this. The guys were in a college, okay? In a university. So there was this building, and there was this huge sign outside of the building saying, welcome to participate in our experiment. It's only gonna take like 10 minutes and you're gonna make 10 bucks. Então, imagine que tivesse assim, um prédio lá na rural, e aí tem uma faixa bem grande assim, fora do prédio, dizendo assim, participe de um experimento com a gente, é um joguinho rápido, não vai gastar mais que 10 minutos, e todo mundo que participar ganha 10 reais. Alright, so this thing would never happen in rural, because at rural, people are too concerned about, privatizing university, and I don't know. So, but in the United States, sometimes they do these kinds of things, okay? Então tá lá, um prédio, um aviso dizendo quem participar desse experimento é um joguinho sobre memória, sobre raciocínio, vai ganhar 10 reais para nos ajudar aqui com esse estudo. Alright, so suppose that you decide to participate, okay? So you walk in the building, and then there's someone there with lab coats and things like this, very scientific. And then they come and say, all right, welcome. Yeah, please sign here your name. Yeah, you participate in this experiment, and you're going to make 10 bucks. Now, the experiment is very simple. You're going to walk in that room, and someone's going to tell you a number. You're going to have to memorize the number. You're going to walk down the aisle. And by the end of the building, you're going to walk in another room and tell the number to someone. That's it? Yeah, that's it. Então, imagine como é simples esse experimento, né? Você assinou ali, vai ganhar 10 reais para participar do experimento. O cara falou, não, você entra aqui, nessa sala, alguém vai te dizer um número. Aí você memoriza esse número. Aí você vai andando até o final do corredor. Lá no final do prédio, você entra na sala e vai ter uma pessoa lá, você fala o número que você memorizou. All right, that's very simple. 10 bucks for that? Well, I can do that all day. Oh, no, it turns out that you can only participate one time. A pessoa vai falar, por R$ 10 para fazer uma coisa tão simples assim, eu poderia fazer a vida inteira. All right, so you think, as you participate in this experiment, you think that that's it. But there is like a hidden choice that's going to be presented to you, right? So you walk in the room, and the person tells you 125. Oh, yeah, that's it? Yeah, 125. So you memorize this number. 125. All right, I got it. Okay, I can do that. But when you leave the first room and you are walking down the aisle, here comes accidentally, here comes someone pushing a cart. And in the cart, you can see some crackers and a very nice big chocolate cake, ok? Então, você está saindo do primeira sala para ir até a outra sala e dizer o número. No meio do caminho, acidentalmente, vem uma pessoa empurrando um carrinho e ali tem uma cestinha com biscoito creme cracker de um lado e do outro lado uma torta gordurosa, cheia de doces assim, de chocolate, bem suculenta. Right. When people are offered, say, oh, come on, here, you are participating in an experiment, you can pick any of them. You prefer the crackers or you prefer the cake? So, yeah, you may say, oh, I'm more like a cake person, I'm going to have the cake. Oh, no, I'm not hungry, I'm just going to have some crackers. You can make that choice. But notice that those options are offered to every single person. Para cada pessoa que entra na primeira sala e recebe um número para memorizar, no meio do caminho vai aparecer a pessoa empurrando o carrinho e vai oferecer. Você quer a torta de chocolate ou você quer o biscoito creme cracker? Now, you may think that in the middle of a day, people will be kind of, self-aware if they're going to eat the cake. They say, no, I can't get too fat. Summer is coming. I'm taking care of my figure or something like that, my health. Maybe I should just take the crackers or something like this. It can go on someone else's mind, this kind of concern, right? But it turns out that for some people, they told very simple numbers like 2, 25, 125. Some other people, they gave much, much larger numbers. So the number that you have to memorize is like 23,746,216. And you say, 23,746,000. And then you repeat yourself many times before you leave the room. And he gets a little bit more nervous, right? You're a little bit more stressed because you got a larger number. It's a little bit harder to memorize, so you are a little bit more stressed, right? So they did that with hundreds of people. And it turns out that just because you give people larger numbers to memorize, they are much more prone to take the cake. Now, here's my question. Why? Why people would take the cake when they are given larger numbers to memorize? Todo mundo entendeu, pessoal? Os caras testaram isso com centenas de pessoas. Quando você dá às pessoas números mais longos para memorizar, que elas ficam um pouquinho mais nervosas, elas têm muito maior tendência de aceitar a torta em vez de simplesmente pegar uma bolacha creme cracker. Por quê? Now, let me see your explanation.
Professor, eu creio que seja porque um número maior exige um maior esforço mental, e com isso a pessoa necessita de um maior número calórico, né? Um maior esforço para conseguir exercer a mesma tarefa. Então, o bolo de chocolate acaba sendo mais interessante por ele ser mais calórico e acaba liberando mais dopamina para realizar a atividade.
All right, good explanation, very good. Gostei desse seu raciocínio, Lucas. Quem mais gostaria de tentar? Todo mundo concorda com o Lucas? Alguém tem alguma alternativa, explicação alternativa?
Eu acho que um número maior merece uma recompensa maior, pelo menos pelas pessoas que estão pensando.
Alright. Então é tipo falar assim, não, eu mereço, né? Eu tô estressado aqui, pô, esse negócio tá me queimando o juízo, eu pelo menos mereço uma compensação maior. Quem mais gostaria de tentar? Vocês acham que pode ter alguma coisa a ver com culpa? Alguém gostaria de ter mais alguma explicação para esse fenômeno? Pode falar, Susan, diga lá.
No caso, eu acredito que o doce ele estimula certas partes do cérebro voltado para o prazer, então você consegue relaxar mais rápido.
All right, very good. Very good explanation. Now, look at this. Lucas and Susan, they think it was a rational choice. It was like, I need more energy, or I don't know, I need more, I'm gonna somehow depend on protein or some, I don't know, carbohydrate or something like this. So we are making a reasonable choice. It's the calculation. And Mateus said, well, it's more like about what I deserve. É tipo mais aquilo que eu me sinto que eu mereço. Eu mereço. So João is saying here at the chat, já eu imagino que por se preocupar com o grande número, o indivíduo optará por uma decisão rápida, como pegar um alimento que é maior que o outro. Oh yeah, that's possibility too, it's bigger, the cake is bigger or something like that. But I mean, after studying this behavior for a long time and talking to people afterwards, what we see is that many of them were trying to keep off the cake, but they couldn't when they were stressed out. Então, quando as pessoas estavam estressadas, elas não conseguiram resistir a uma tentação. Então, o nível de estresse que a gente está, e mesmo que seja um estresse pequenininho, né, gente? Memorizar um número de 3 dígitos ou memorizar um número de 6 dígitos. Even when it's very little stress, it affects our self-control. It affects the way we are capable of making the best decision. We just don't give the worry anymore. We say, oh, come on, I'm going to do it what I feel like. Então, o estresse, ele afeta a nossa capacidade de autocontrolar, de se impor disciplina, de fazer uma escolha pensada. And then, as João mentioned here, we just make a quick decision. We make the intuitive decision. We just say, okay, I'm going to take the cake. And if you ask people why they took the cake, later, they have a hard time explaining because they never thought about it. Muita gente, quando é perguntada depois sobre a escolha, por que você escolheu a torta? Ela fala, não sei. Falei, pô, tá com a cara boa. Eu não pensei. Eu não parei e pensei, não refleti, eu não fiz conta. Eu simplesmente falei, vai a torta. So, if we were not stressed, you somehow are more able to calculate, to look at the options, think about the consequences and say, okay, what's best for me? This is best for me. No, this is best for me now. But what about later? Am I going to be healthier? Am I going to get fat? You are able to measure the consequences more profoundly, more clearly when you are not stressed. All right. So this is an example. It looks like they are making a test about memory, but they are not studying memory. They're studying stress. All right, guys. So this is a lab experiment. We are putting someone to some sort of experiment. We have to be extremely careful when we do this kind of experiment, okay? We're going to talk about this later, But experiments like this, they have to be very carefully planned, and they have to go through ethical committees, ok? Ethics committees. Um experimento como esse, você não pode simplesmente botar uma mesa na universidade e começar a fazer. A gente precisa desenhar esse experimento, escrever um projeto e tem que submeter a um comitê de ética. Qualquer pesquisa que a gente faça envolvendo o ser humano, por mais inocente que pareça, tem que passar por um comitê de ética. E as pessoas que vão participar têm que assinar um termo de consentimento livre esclarecido, que chama TCLE. Vou colocar aqui as sílabazinhas aqui no nosso chat, tá? TCLE. TCLE. Termo de consentimento livre esclarecido. All right, so whenever we create this sort of environments, it is an artificial one. It is a simulation of stress. It's not even stress per se. You're just getting people to feel a little bit more tense, right? It's just the tension of trying to memorize a larger number. But that already shows you how people suffer, how people's decisions suffer when they are stressed. Now think about this. This may look like just a silly question, right? Parece ser uma pergunta boba. Parece ser um estudo bobo sobre como as pessoas engordam ou não engordam. But stop. Think about this. Have you noticed that poor people in Brazil are getting fat and fat? And many times you see the poorer a region is, the more fat people you have there. So this is important stuff. People are kind of killing themselves, and sometimes it is because of stress, because they have too hard a life. Então, quando a gente olha para comunidades muito pobres, a gente está cada vez mais vendo pessoas gordas. É terrível, porque elas são gordas e desnutridas. Elas comem muito mal e se alimentam com alimentos de muito baixa qualidade. E, no entanto, ficam muito gordas. So it's like both bad things. You are fat and you don't have enough nutrition. So this is very serious stuff. People die because of that. People die younger because of that. This is the first way to look at. The second thing is about financial decision. If your life is very hard, it's not easy to make financial decisions because you make decisions when you are stressed out. And when you're stressed out, it's very hard to use self-control, to have self-control, to have discipline. Então, o efeito do estresse na tomada de decisão, que nesse experimento parecia ser uma coisa bobinha, this is a very, very interesting and powerful result, because it tells you that no matter how much money you got, how many years of school you had, if you are stressed out, you're going to make poor decisions. This is a very important result, right? It's a very important research. And it's coming from a lab experiment. All right. It's already 9:45. I'm going to stop here. But on Friday, I'm going to post to you a video talking a little bit more about other sorts of experiments and going further with the discussion of cognitive biases, okay? All right, guys, I'm going to stop recording here right now, and I'm going to be around for a few more minutes if you want to talk to me, if you want to ask questions, or if you just want to make a comment, okay?